The shocking confession has shaken not only China but also the entire international community that followed the life and career of Menglong, a beloved actor and singer whose rising star was suddenly extinguished under horrifying circumstances. The arrest of the prime suspect, a man once close to him named Li Chenhao, has opened the door to a flood of revelations that are as chilling as they are heartbreaking. What was once whispered as rumor has now been confirmed in court documents and interrogation transcripts. Menglong was deliberately poisoned over time with increasing doses of powerful stimulants. A sinister plan carried out by someone who was supposed to be a trusted ally. The public's grief has swiftly transformed into outrage as the grim details unfold. From the very first day of Menglong's death, questions had lingered. Fans noticed how his last few public appearances showed signs of instability. He would smile, then suddenly look lost. He would forget lyrics, lose his footing on stage, or stumble through interviews. Many attributed it to exhaustion, a common side effect of relentless schedules in the entertainment industry. But behind the scenes, investigators now reveal a darker hand was at play. The arrest of Li Chenhao came after weeks of surveillance and careful piecing together of evidence. Li, assistant who managed parts of Menglong's schedule, had access to the star's food and beverages. Police reports state that Li was detained at an apartment in Shanghai, where forensic teams uncovered pill residues, vials, and notes calculating dosage increments. Pressed under interrogation, Li finally broke. His confession was not only an admission of guilt but also a window into the disturbed psychology of envy and resentment. According to the transcripts, Li confessed to harboring jealousy as Menglong's career soared. One sequels. Their paths diverged, while Menglong became a household name. Li remained in the shadows, financially dependent and nursing bitterness. What began as a misguided attempt to teach him a lesson soon spiraled into a methodical plot. Li admitted to slipping small amounts of stimulants into Menglong's drinks. At first it was just to make him restless, to show he wasn't untouchable. Li reportedly said. But then I realized how easy it was to control him. The more I gave, the weaker his mind became. Forensic experts were stunned by the toxicology reports. In Menglong's system were levels of stimulants that could not be explained by recreational use or accidental overdose. The concentrations pointed to long-term exposure with gradually escalating dosages. This raised immediate questions. How had such quantities gone unnoticed? And why had no one suspected deliberate foul play? The answers lie in the subtlety of Li's method. By increasing the dosage little by little, he ensured Menglong's deterioration appeared natural, attributed to stress or overwork. The strategy was as cruel as it was cunning. Police interrogators asked the most haunting question: why choose stimulants? And why escalate the dosage? Li's answers revealed a calculated plan. He knew stimulants could induce paranoia, memory loss, and erratic behavior if abused. I wanted the world to see him fall apart, Li admitted coldly. I wanted him to lose everything that made him shine. The words, when released to the press, triggered a wave of disbelief and fury. Fans around the world struggled to comprehend how a trusted insider could so methodically destroy the man they adored. The forensic team added another disturbing layer to the story. The presence of multiple stimulant types suggested experimentation. Li had not simply chosen one drug but had tested combinations, adjusting amounts over weeks. Meticulous manipulation explained Menglong's increasingly uncharacteristic behavior, bursts of energy followed by crashes, incoherent interviews, flashes of temper, and moments of sheer confusion. The very personality that endeared him to millions was being chemically dismantled. As these revelations surfaced, public vigils transformed into protests. Social media exploded with hashtags demanding justice. Justice for Menglong trended globally, accompanied by millions of messages from devastated fans. In Beijing, thousands gathered outside police headquarters, holding signs that read "We want the truth and punish the betrayer." In Seoul, Tokyo, Los Angeles, and Paris, candlelight vigils honored his memory. What began as grief had now evolved into a worldwide movement for accountability. Fuel to the outrage were the questions about industry responsibility. How could managers, producers, colleagues fail to notice the scale of his decline? Did the obsession with profit and fame blind everyone to his suffering? Experts weighed in, saying that the entertainment industry often normalizes exhaustion and erratic behavior, allowing predators like Li Chenhao to operate undetected. Public demanded reforms. calling for stricter health monitoring and safeguards for celebrities. Yet the core of the tragedy remains painfully personal. Friends of Menglong shared memories of his final weeks. One recalled visiting him in his apartment, where he appeared confused and paranoid. Another remembered him breaking down in tears, unable to articulate what was wrong. These haunting testimonies now gain new meaning under the shadow of Li's confession. He was not just battling stress, he was being poisoned from within. The revelation of Li Chenhao's confession was only the beginning. As investigators dug deeper, the story of Yu Menglong's last months became a chilling case study in betrayal, manipulation, and systemic negligence. What Part 1 revealed, the arrest, confession, and motive, was enough to spark global outrage. Yet Part 2 exposes the forensic evidence, courtroom confrontation, and the worldwide reaction that transformed this tragedy into a historic scandal. The forensic analysis painted a nightmarish picture. Experts from the Shanghai Institute of Forensic Medicine spent weeks dissecting Menglong's toxicology. Their findings left no room for doubt. The levels of amphetamine-based stimulants in his bloodstream were not only lethal but chronically accumulated. His liver bore chemical scarring consistent with prolonged exposure. Brain scans conducted shortly before his death, when he complained of memory loss, now revealed the devastating effects of deliberate drugging. These were not random traces from recreational use, they were the unmistakable markers of a victim systematically poisoned over time. The police reports included transcript fragments that shook the public further. One exchange between investigators and Li revealed the chilling premeditation. "Detective, why did you increase the dosage week by week?" Li Chenhao, "Because small doses kept him functioning, but confused. Larger doses destroyed his focus. Him unstable enough to lose control. Long enough to watch it happen." The coldness of those words became headlines. Tabloids printed them in bold letters. International outlets debated how such malice could exist in the heart of someone so close to the victim. Television anchors trembled with emotion as they read the transcript aloud, sparking floods of messages from viewers. It was not just murder, it was psychological warfare conducted in secret, day after day. The timeline of Menglong's decline became central to the prosecution's case. Journalists reconstructed his final year through footage, interviews, and leaked diary entries. In the spring, at his peak, radiant, confident, adored. By summer, rumors circulated about his erratic rehearsals. In autumn, he forgot lines on live television. By winter, friends noted he had grown paranoid, suspicious that someone was out to get him. The tragic irony is that his intuition was correct, but the perpetrator was the very person pouring his water backstage. In court, the atmosphere was electric. Reporters lined up before dawn, and global news agencies live-streamed the proceedings. Li Chenhao, wearing a gray prison uniform, sat expressionless as prosecutors outlined the charges: premeditated murder through chemical intoxication, abuse of trust, and deliberate psychological harm. Defense attempted to argue diminished responsibility. He suffered from mental instability. But the mountain of evidence, the vials, the notes, the confession, made such arguments hollow. Forensic experts testified for hours, presenting charts and chemical breakdowns. One expert explained how escalating doses altered Menglong's brain chemistry. At first, stimulants heighten energy, but with sustained abuse, dismantle memory, focus, and emotional regulation. What we see in Menglong's toxicology is a textbook case of intentional cognitive erosion. The courtroom fell silent as images of brain scans were projected, showing areas of damage. Watching the liver stream wept openly, their grief transforming into anger. The prosecution highlighted one devastating point: Li's meticulous record-keeping. Found in his apartment was a notebook where he tracked dosages week by week, marking Menglong's reactions. In one entry, he wrote, "Increased dose today." He forgot lyrics again. Audience confused, perfect. Calculated cruelty of these words stunned even seasoned investigators. It was not a crime of passion, it was a performance of destruction staged over months. As the trial unfolded, the world reacted. Hashtags demanding justice dominated social media. Outside the courthouse, thousands of fans gathered daily, holding candles in Menglong's name, and demanding life imprisonment for Li. Petitions calling for harsher penalties and celebrity protection laws gained millions of signatures. Internationally, The case prompted debates about workplace safety in the entertainment industry. Commentators argue that Menglong's tragedy exposed systemic flaws, the absence of mental health monitoring, over-reliance on personal assistance, and the lack of drug screening protocols for stars under immense pressure. Celebrities, too, joined the chorus. Fellow actors and singers dedicated performances to Menglong. A popular actress declared on live TV, "If Menglong, with all his fame, could be destroyed this way, every one of us is vulnerable. We must demand change." Global figures, from Hollywood directors to K-pop idols, posted tributes, amplifying the outcry across continents. Meanwhile, Menglong's family sat in court, stoic but devastated. His mother wept silently as forensic experts described the toxins in her son's body. His father, once proud of his son's glittering career, looked broken when the prosecutor read aloud Lee's chilling words. The public rallied around them, letters, flowers, and pledges of solidarity. Across China, murals of Menglong appeared overnight on city walls, by grieving fans who wanted a smile to live on despite the darkness of his death. The police interrogation continued to haunt the case. When asked why he never stopped, even as Menglong's condition visibly worsened, Lee replied, "By then it wasn't about jealousy. It was about power. I controlled his reality. I wanted him to crumble piece by piece." Such statements eliminated any possibility of leniency. The judge, visibly disturbed, remarked that the case represented one of the most cold-blooded abuses of trust the court had ever seen. Public rage erupted worldwide not only because a star was lost, but because the crime symbolized betrayal at its deepest level. It is described feeling personally violated, as though their collective love had been mocked by Lee's cruelty. Protests spread to international Chinese consulates. Documentaries and investigative specials began airing across global networks. This was no longer only about justice for Menglong, it became a cultural reckoning about the fragility of fame and the darkness lurking in its shadow. The conclusion of the trial left no doubt. Lee Chen-heo was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, the court declaring him a danger to society and a traitor to human trust. The verdict was met with applause inside the courtroom and tears outside it. Yet for many, justice could never feel complete. Menglong's music would no longer echo in concert halls. His face no longer light up television screens. He left behind was immeasurable. In the aftermath, conversations shifted toward reform. Entertainment agencies vowed to implement new safety measures, routine health checks, background screenings for staff, confidential hotlines for stars to report concerns. Some critics dismissed these as symbolic gestures. Others saw them as the beginning of long overdue change. Academics began publishing studies on celebrity vulnerability, citing Menglong's case as a turning point. At memorials across the world, fans gathered to celebrate his life. They sang his songs, shared stories, vowed to protect his legacy. One young fan in Seoul said through tears, "He gave us happiness, and in return we couldn't protect him. Now we must protect others in his name." These words captured the spirit of a movement born from tragedy, a collective promise to transform grief into vigilance. In closing, the story of Menglong's murder is more than the tale of a crime. It is a mirror reflecting human envy, erupting hunger for control, and the vulnerability of even the brightest stars. It forces society to confront uncomfortable truths, that behind fame's dazzling lights lurk shadows of exploitation and betrayal. The outrage that now spans continents is not only for Menglong, but for every artist silenced by forces beyond their control. As the candles continue to burn and fans whisper his name into the night, the question remains unanswered: how could such cruelty grow unchecked until it consumed a life so full of promise? The world may never find peace with that question. But in honoring Menglong, fans have vowed that his light will never be forgotten.